welcome to this new episode of the Explicitly Pro-Life podcast. Today I have a live in-person guest, Kelsey Hazzard. She is the founder and president of a group called Secular Pro-Life, and really special, she's actually an alum, I guess you call it, of Students for Life. And so we've known each other for, we think, about a dozen years, maybe a little more. We're dating ourselves. She reminded me earlier that we were in our 30s now. So thanks a lot. So it's really great to have you in person, Kelsey.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I go way back with Students for Life of America, both as a college student and as a law school student. So, moving on into more my adult life, being a mentor to students through different fellowships. So, the connections run deep, and I'm so excited to have you here and just get to hang out for a little while.
Yeah, I know. Like, I'm in Florida. I'm coming to do a podcast. So, we're going to do 2 episodes with Kelsey. The first one, I kind of want to hear your story of how you got involved in Students for Life, and then what that involvement led to in your life. Because we were talking before we started the show. I wish we had a film about the ripple effect. The ripple effect of Students for Life. Our logo is a candle lighting another candle, and it's
so perfect.
It's so like I didn't know it back then, like in when we did it, but it's so perfect, and it's so awe-inspiring to think of like this ripple effect that like how did God, you're an atheist, sorry, but how did God use this imperfect person to do this crazy thing? Like it's just so crazy. And so I want to talk about that.
And then for me, it just creates an awe of humanity in general.
Kelsey has an awe of humanity. And then I want to talk about secular pro-life and your atheism and ask you questions.
Okay.
And then we're going to do a second show. Because you're also a foster mom.
Yes, I am.
And I've been kind of following your journey. So stay tuned. There'll be a second show coming in the next few weeks on that. So, and everyone's like, oh, I want the foster stuff now. I know. We're going to get to it. So let's talk about the ripple effect, because I just find it, it's so funny because, you're a middle of the road, not a right winger, atheist. You came to a Students for Life conference. How did you come to a Students for Life conference?
Well, I was a student at the University of Miami back in the day, and when I went to a student involvement fair, I saw that there was a Planned Parenthood affiliated group and no pro-life group. And I got the idea in my head that I should start one. And I had really no idea. I had no leadership skills or background whatsoever, didn't know what I was doing. And Students for Life had an RC come to campus, really kind of took me under their wing and showed me.
Was it Lauren Enriquez?
No, it would have even been before Lauren.
Oh gosh, okay. And I don't remember who it was. Sorry.
And so just Students for Life really invested a lot in me, invested some time in me, and had faith in me, which was really encouraging. And we built a really strong chapter there at University of Miami. We actually got an award.
Going today.
We got an award for Best New Student Organization that year, and started doing various projects, having speakers, and so on and so forth. And as part of that, we, of course, wanted to have brochures, things to hand out while we were tabling and stuff. And it's no longer an issue now, but at that time, which again was more than a decade ago, we had a hard time finding good secular literature. You would have a prenatal development brochure, and it would be really awesome. The Before I Knew You, they would ruin it by throwing in some Bible verse, and we just
these damn Christians and their Bible verses.
And I was actually a Christian at the time, but I found it annoying because we're on a very pluralistic campus at University of Miami, and we had atheists and agnostics in our group, and we were just trying to come up with a broader approach. So we wound up actually creating some of our own brochures, and it's not like they were good. I mean, they were pretty bare bones, but we took that secular approach from the beginning. And then I was as I was nearing graduation and thinking, okay, I'm not going to be a student for life anymore, but I still want to be involved. How can I, as an alum, be involved? And so I said, I'm going to start a group for atheist and agnostic pro-lifers and start putting out some of the secular literature for people to share, and maybe something will come of it. And I had no idea how
that's how God works.
How big it was. I would say it's
whether he exists or not. That's how it works.
I think people were waiting for it. People were just so tired of every abortion debate devolving into a theological debate. Like, we're not here to talk about how many angels can fit on the head of a pin. We are here to talk about life and death.
I've never had that conversation, but now I kind of have. Yes. I've never had that come up. I guess you have.
I just mean that kind of metaphorically, but like, so we. Now this has just gone completely off the rails.
So you started
people,
I get it.
People found it really refreshing.
Yeah.
That, like, just the ability to stay on topic, because I think, to a degree, abortion opponents would rather talk about religion.
That's right.
It's a distraction that they
that's right.
use to their advantage. So just keeping the God talk out of it and just being like, here's the science, here's the facts, here's what we're dealing with here, appealed to a lot of people, including both religious and not. So we gained a lot of steam and have grown beyond my wildest dreams. And as we were talking about before we started recording, we actually now have a full-time executive director, the lovely Monica Snyder, who is herself an atheist as well. So we are atheist-led at Secular Pro-Life, but our membership is kind of all over the place. We have a very diverse group of people, as far as ideology goes, left, right, center, and we also have all different religious faiths represented.
Okay, I didn't know that. So I could even join Secular Pro-Life.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you follow us on Facebook, you basically...
Oh, I am a member of Secular Pro-Life.
We don't make anybody pay dues.
Okay.
So, but we do get a lot of feedback from pro-life atheists saying, thank you so much for existing and just affirming that we are here and that's the thing. We actually ran the numbers a couple of years ago, and we believe that there are more than 12 million non-religious pro-lifers in the United States, just based on the polling data. Yeah, it's basically the population of Illinois. So if you think we don't exist, you're wrong. So and then it's also become a welcome place for pretty much anyone who doesn't feel at home with the religious right, people who are maybe more more liberal or belong to minority religious groups like Jews, Buddhists, Muslims, wind up in our camp. So it's a lot of fun. I've had the pleasure of just meeting so many different people, and it just brings home for me the incredible uniqueness of every human being and how precious life is.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because you were even saying you started coming to the Students for Life conference after you started Secular Pro-Life to then recruit students.
Right.
To
well,
join.
I had been at a Students for Life conference as a student, and then when I started Secular Pro-Life, of course, I wanted to get an exhibit booth, and Students for Life was happy to have me there. I think you might have even given me a discount because you knew we were new. And student led,
yes.
and you just
I know
you valued that.
I give these sweet deals, and then I get in trouble.
I'm sorry. Oh, I shouldn't have said anything. Well, the statute of limitations has passed.
That's true.
It was quite a while ago. We pay full price now, but and we had this relationship with Students for Life where Secular Pro-Life was a source of speakers for when pro-life student groups would come to Students for Life and be like, our group is basically just the Newman Center meeting on a different day of the week. How can you help us?
And I refer to you guys dozens and dozens of times to campus when they're like, you're all old white conservatives. I'm like, well, actually, there's a group called Secular Pro-Life. You should look in. So I feel like you get a lot of marketing from Christian conservatives, and they're like, actually, they're not all like me. There's other people out there. But no, I thought that was great because like you were the conference as a student, then you came after you started this awesome organization. You found other students who then worked with you that started their own. Yeah, who became SPL volunteers or who brought me on their campus to speak, brought other pro-life atheists on their campuses Teresa
to speak.
Bokoviak. So
Teresa
I was trying to figure out how Teresa got in the pro-life movement.
And I will tell you.
So tell us how
I will tell you the wild story of how Teresa's got to
watch this episode.
became part of the pro-life movement. So it actually starts with Secular Pro-Life. I was getting Secular Pro-Life started, and I got Monica Snyder involved pretty early because I knew that she was a pro-life atheist. I knew her from Facebook. I knew her from just abortion debates on Facebook. I had never been in the same room with her, and in fact,
you're aging yourself by saying abortion debates on Facebook, not Instagram.
I know.
Or TikTok.
And actually, I was not in the same room with her until she invited me to her wedding.
Oh my gosh.
But I knew that she would be interested, and so she got really involved. And Monica and Teresa had worked together at a Starbucks. That is the connection. They had worked together at a Starbucks, and then much later, Teresa, following her old coworker on social media, notices that Monica starts posting all this stuff about abortion from a secular pro-life perspective. And Teresa was and is left-leaning and interested in animal rights.
She was the former president of Democrats for Life. She's on your all's board, right?
Yes.
And then she launched a new organization.
POW, the Progressive Anti-Abortion Uprising.
Pow, pow.
Pow, pow. So, yeah, Teresa's all over the place, with her hands involved
totally
in everything.
Stole
now.
my whole bullhorn idea now, because you used to see me and the students at the bullhorn, and then Teresa's got her bullhorn. I'm like telling our students, don't let her get the front of the picture. You gotta get next to Teresa, but she stole the bullhorn. So Teresa, I'm just saying,
nobody has proprietary rights on using a bullhorn. But anyway, so
she noticed her old coworker, who got involved with you,
right, and so that's how Teresa wound up converting. She was sort of a nominal pro-choicer, just like, oh well, I guess I'm pro-choice because of my identity as a left-leaning person in San Francisco. Why would I be anything else? Hadn't even really thought about it, and then after thinking about it, realized that she was that pro-life atheist person and just dove in. Like, Teresa devotes her whole heart to everything.
Yeah, she started. We had a pro-life future chapter, so you must have connected us.
I think that must be what happened.
Because she started Pro-Life Future in San Francisco, and then that
morphed into Pro-Life San Francisco,
which now is its own separate organization with staff.
Right, because she no longer lives in San Francisco. She passed the baton there.
She passed the bullhorn.
Yes, passed the bullhorn.
Literally to her mini-me.
Yes.
Who has the bullhorn in San Francisco.
Yes. So there's all kinds of valuable lessons in this podcast about succession planning.
Yes.
So that's how Teresa got involved. Was that
I
she
just love
was
that.
following, through this random Starbucks connection, and then when Monica spoke at the West Coast Walk for Life, there was Teresa, her old Starbucks coworker, saying hi, and Monica was, hi, what are you doing here?
Gosh.
So, and it just from there, it built up and built up and built up.
So that, cool.
If you want to talk about a ripple effect and candles lighting other candles, that's a perfect example.
And it's funny because if you look at like Teresa and then you look at Kristan Hawkins,
very different people, extremely different people.
We both like a good bullhorn, but we're
both anti-abortion,
and we want to say babies, but that's
about it.
Pretty much it. Like politically, religiously, she's vegan and like all this. So I love a good hamburger. So like we are so different, but yet. But then
because this cause is for everyone. This cause is for everyone, and it's just a couple degrees of separation is all it takes.
Kevin Bacon was like Kevin Bacon.
Yes,
we need to do it. Like,
Kevin Bacon.
Couple degrees from Kelsey Hazzard. Or like Students for Life. Like you could just be like of all of these little connections.
Yes.
And
you heard it here first, everyone. Students for Life America is the Kevin Bacon of the pro-life movement.
we gotta put that on the website. But no, I just think that's so awesome to hear, because my saying yes to this crazy idea of launching Students for Life and not knowing what I was getting, kind of what you're saying, not knowing what you're getting into, how hard it is. Then meeting you and getting you involved and you saying yes to stepping up on your campus, saying I have to do something, finding the regional coordinator who we don't remember who it was, sorry, and then coming to the conference, and then you saying, okay, I want to do something hard and start a new organization.
And that led to new organizations.
Yeah, that led to, because there's another organization we were talking about of a student who met you at one of the conferences who started her own so like, and then they keep meeting new people and converting them. Yeah. And so it's just, I love it.
It's an unstoppable chain reaction.
You can't stop us, Planned Parenthood. Like, that's what's so great. Like, the pro-life generation, even us elder millennials, which I heard is a term. We are elder millennials.
I've even heard geriatric millennial, which I think people were kidding about, but...
No, I call ourselves... Somebody said we are xennials because we're kind of like X, but we're elder millennials is a correct PC term that we can call ourselves. But like, how it's just changed and how it just keeps growing and getting bigger and bigger. You know what?
I'll take it. It's a positive thing. Like, the pro-life movement should be led by young people. I don't... it's been said so long that I don't remember who originated it, that pro-life young people aren't the future leaders of the movement. They are the leaders of the movement.
I think it was Brian Kemper who said that.
That would make sense, that it would be Brian Kemper. So, that's it's happening. It's in action. And if we in our mid-30s feel like a new generation is taking things over, that's a great thing, because we need that youthful energy and we need that momentum to keep going, because we are looking at a post-Roe future.
That's right.
And this is not the end of the battle. This is the beginning of a new phase. I mean, the abortion industry is going to push back hard, and we need all hands on deck. All hands on deck, absolutely.
I know you just want to take over the podcast because you got it. Like you got like all the talking points. I mean, you need your own podcast. You're absolutely right.
Yes, in my abundant free time.
Yes, as a foster mom and lawyer, yes, and president of Secular Pro-Life. It's really incredible to see it. And I was remarking to you before the beginning of the show of, I walked to the Supreme Court after the end of the march this year, and student Teresa was there with her bullhorn, and she had these really cool drums. And I was like,
I love the drums, the pow drums.
Yes, the pow drums. And then our students had bullhorns, and I was like, oh, well, I guess I can go to Starbucks now. I'm not really needed here. And so I looked at one of our student leaders, Jamie, and I was like, can I borrow the bullhorn for a little bit? She's like, sure. But I was like, it was such a cool feeling to know, like, I wasn't needed. I didn't even have to be there. Like, they knew what they needed to do. They were going to get the job done. They'd seen it done before, and so it's very gratifying to see, like, Kristan could get hit by a bus or hit with the pow drums, and the movement, student life, would still survive. So, all right, I wanted to talk about that. Let's steer into your work at Secular Pro-Life briefly. What do you see, I guess, especially as we're coming down to hopefully very soon a post-Roe world, what do you think the broader pro-life movement needs to be thinking about, especially when it comes to being more inclusive, or I guess it's such a liberal term, inclusive, welcoming of people of different, like.
I think it has more to do with, and we've all heard the saying, making abortion both illegal and unthinkable. When we talk about making abortion unthinkable, it's not sufficient to make it unthinkable to churchgoers. Like that's the bare minimum. Talk about preaching to the choir, literally.
Yeah.
If we're going to have a society where abortion is unthinkable, it's got to be unthinkable among lots of different demographic groups.
And this generation is the least church generation.
Correct. So this is a much more secular generation, a much more multiracial generation. That's hard to say 5 times. Just making sure that we are getting our message out to the people of reproductive age the abortion centers are targeting. That's really what it's all about. And also making sure that we are doing right by our brothers and sisters in the disability community, because there is such a tight connection between the anti-abortion cause and the disability rights cause.
Well, it goes back to the dehumanization of
the dehumanization of the eugenics.
Yep.
So being mindful of all those things. Whenever you are planning your pro-life projects, getting together, having your board meetings or whatever the case may be, it's a good idea to just look around and ask who's missing, who's not here. What can we do to make this meeting more convenient, maybe for somebody who can't physically attend? Can we have a Zoom option? Maybe that person's disabled. Maybe they've got kids at home. Things like that, to ensure accessibility and make sure that you are marketing and advertising your events, not just in the same places every time.
So hosting your meetings at the Newman Center.
Yeah, that's
Is that hard for a student who's an atheist to be like, yes, I'm going to the Catholic Newman Center?
It can. It's. I don't mind just like entering a religious space. I did grow up in a Protestant church, so that's somewhat normal to me. But making sure that you have a good balance in your events. Like if you're out there saying, yes, we want to be an accessible group to people of every faith and none, and our next 3 events are all prayer vigils. good luck. That's just not going to happen. So making sure that you have activities that everybody can participate in is huge. Absolutely. And then going out there and explicitly saying, talk about explicitly pro-life. We are explicitly pro-life. We are explicitly nonpartisan. We are explicitly non-sectarian. Because if you don't go out and affirmatively say those things, the abortion industry's got all kinds of propaganda out there priming everyone to assume that you're a conservative Christian group. So you have to affirmatively go out there and say, no, this is what we're about. We're for everybody.
That's a good point. I mean, I think we find ourselves at Students for Life saying that a lot, like when the regional coordinators are on campus going, no, we're a non-partisan group, you know, we're a secular organization. Yes, I may be a conservative Christian, but you know, you actually have to, you're right, you have to say it over and over again. That's probably a pretty good idea for like groups that are advertising group meetings, like on their flyers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Say, like,
it takes all of 5 seconds to add that line to your advertising.
It's
Absolutely.
Just like, that's like a code word that you're safe here.
Well, yeah, basically. I don't even think it's code. It's just saying we're not the stereotype you've been taught to expect.
And honestly, I think that's our biggest challenge when we think of one of our biggest challenges at the movement. And we've been doing hundreds of thousands of dollars of research at Students for Life, our Institute for Pro-Life Advancement, and over and over and over again, it's the brand. The brand is, I mean, we don't even use, like when our regional coordinators go to campus now on table, like starting a group, you know, the instruction is don't say, are you pro-life or pro-choice? One, people don't know. People will go, which one is that? I'm not sure. But then the ones who know pro-life are like, even if they would be with us, you know, and you see it in the polling a lot of times. So
the Gallup
75% Americans are pro-choice. I'm like, ask them how they support Roe, and then tell them what Roe is, and then re-ask it. Like, I mean, it's way more nuanced, but the reality is the perception of our brand is who we are as pro-lifers is old, angry white men, Republicans who hate women and minorities. Like that. I mean, like, and I know like that's painful for the old conservative Christians like me who like it's hard to like but that they have a very negative view of who we are, and
that's just thanks to decades of abortion industry propaganda. That's nothing personal to you, Kristan, or any other conservative Christian out there. That is the deliberate result of decades of propaganda. I mean, you can even go back to pre-Roe, the writings of Bernard Nathanson. So he, for those in the audience who don't know, he was one of the co-founders of what is now NARAL, and he later, after improvements in ultrasound technology allowed him to see the reality of life in the womb, became pro-life, and he was a pro-life atheist for a while there before it was cool, and he started sharing his insights about his time as a pro-abortion organizer and what their strategies were, and one of the big ones was pin it all on the Catholic hierarchy.
Yeah, that's right.
And that involved just erasing any non-Catholic who opposed abortion. So they and their friends in the media were able to accomplish that for quite a long time until now we're at a point that yes, there is still a branding problem, but we are also at a point where it's hard to deny the existence of secular pro-life people, particularly as the secular population has grown. Naturally, the pro-life secular population also has grown.
What's this? The set that Democrats for Life uses, like a third of all Democrats are pro-life.
Yeah, they're voting Democrat in spite of their abortion views, not because.
Yeah.
So it's
vote pro-life first. Always.
So that's the situation that we're confronting. And as we get into a post-Roe world, there will be some backlash. There will also be, in the other direction, people in the mushy middle who just want to be on the right side will start calling themselves pro-life. That's
right.
my prediction.
Yeah,
personally.
I mean, you'll see like the masking mandates and the social distancing, all the COVID protocols are quickly like falling away. I'm like, there's gonna be a lot of people who are like pro these COVID, whatever the policy,
who just want to be on the winning
team.
They'll it's not principles.
Yeah, they'll like switch sides immediately and be like, oh yes, like we have to do. It's just funny to watch how quickly things change.
Yeah,
because I think about that with abortion. Like I think about everything. How do you apply it to abortion?
Right. Well, and that's exactly the question that I was going to pose to you, Kristan, is how do we, welcome people who come along to our way of thinking, maybe not in a principled way, without, calling them out on it, but really, but bringing them into a big tent of a pro-life future. That's going to be, the art of holding your tongue and the art of allowing people to save face and change their minds gracefully. That's a toughie. I don't deny it, but now's the time to start thinking about it.
No, that's absolutely, it's a really good question of how do you have these mass conversions that are going to happen without saying, I told you so. Just don't say, I told you so.
Yeah, just don't say
even
it.
if you're thinking it, and even if it looks like it on your face, don't utter that phrase.
Yeah. Just, we're so glad to have you. Let me tell you about this group called Secular Pro-Life.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. I think we're very, in the pro-life movement, very welcoming of converts. Like, we are always talking about conversions, and so many of us who are in the pro-life movement have converted at some point from this pro-choice position or label or feeling or thought. And so I do think that is kind of cool. We actually are a movement made up of post-abortive men and women and, converts. And so I think that helps, but we have to keep telling those stories and showing people that they are absolutely 100% welcome. And so I this has been a great discussion. I've learned a lot. I hope it has certainly given you some ideas for whether, in your community or on your campus, you're thinking about making a more accessible pro-life organization to all peoples. I like accessible. I like that word. I'm gonna use that. It's better than inclusive. My conservative bells start going off my head. I don't know. It's weird.
And it's funny that you say that, because we do talk a lot about language and the way that language can pose barriers across religion. I guess it's the same thing with politically. Like, certain things trigger alarm bells in different people. Like when we're talking to groups about how to make things more accessible to the secular crowd, we point out differences in language. Like, I'll give an example. So I grew up Protestant and then wound up becoming atheist. I have no Catholic background whatsoever. The first time I heard somebody say they were discerning their vocation, I had no idea. But are you talking about maybe going to vocational school? Like, you want to become an HVAC guy or learn auto mechanic? What are you talking about?
It's a very lucrative career, by the way, if you're in Southwest Florida, HVAC.
Yes.
I know. I'm a convert to Catholicism, and I still don't. I was meeting with a bishop recently, and I was freaking out because I can never remember. There's your excellency and there's your eminence. I think eminence is cardinal, and I'm like, how do you bring that? Hello, your excellency. It just seems
your
weird.
majesty.
It seems weird coming off of my tongue, and I was like,
yeah,
hi.
I would be absolutely clueless.
But I had to learn that, and one time I was like, oh no, is it eminence or excellency? I don't know. There's not we actually do a training at Students for Life for our employees. And it's Catholic and Protestant words, because the Catholic employees, they have a whole language that they don't understand for the evangelicals, and so there's language barriers even amongst Christians,
right? And then when you throw in the atheists and agnostics into the mix,
gosh,
yeah. So one of the services that we do offer completely for free is if you're working on some kind of written material as a student group and you just want to run it by an atheist. Just email me. I'll be happy to look at it and say,
so great.
Okay, your mention of family values here is going to turn this person off, and here's why.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a great plug. How do people follow Secular Pro-Life and all that you guys are up to and working on?
So we are on all of the usual social media programs. It's just Secular Pro-Life, Twitter, Facebook, Insta.
Okay. And the emails,
info at Secular Pro-Life, or you can also email Monica at secularprolife.org because she's our new executive director.
Awesome.
And so we are easy to find. Please feel free. We'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Kelsey, for joining me. And make sure you subscribe because you're going to definitely want to check out the second edition of our talk, which is going to be on foster care. So make sure you subscribe so you'll be the first one to know when it comes out, and share this podcast with everyone you know. Obviously, duh. Thanks, guys.